make me think about freedom, would like to acknowledge that the Kenney Theatre and Western University are located on the traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, Lenape, and Etowah peoples. These lands are connected with the London Township and Summer Treaties of 1796 and the Dish with One Spoon Covenant Wampum.
This land continues to be home to diverse Indigenous peoples whom we recognize as contemporary stewards of the land and vital contributors of our society. With this, we respect the long-standing relationships that Indigenous nations have to this land, as they are the original caregivers. We acknowledge historical and ongoing injustices that Indigenous peoples endure in Canada.
Our play is a journey that will take us to some dark places, but we don't stay there. Are you ready to begin?
Yeah.
Join us if you wish. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. And breathe out. Let's begin.
The first Ontario institution for people with intellectual disabilities was opened in 1876, followed by 15 others. After decades of activism, the last three institutions, Huronia, Rideau, and Southwestern, were closed in 2009. The following year, Huronia survivors Marie Slark and Pat Seth, with their litigation guardians Marilyn and Jim Dolmage, launched the first class action lawsuit alleging systemic abuse and neglect. Other class actions followed. David McKillop was the litigant at Rideau, and Vicki Clark was litigation guardian. Mary Ellen Fox was the litigant, and Rosalind Bouchard, the litigation guardian for Southwestern. The settlement of the class actions led to compensation for some survivors and a public apology by then Premier of Ontario, Kathleen Wynne, and opposition leaders.
This is the apology by Kathleen Wynne. I offer an apology to the men, women, and children of Ontario who were failed by a model of institutional care for people with developmental disabilities. We must look in the eyes of those who have been affected and to those they leave behind and say, we are sorry. Over a period of generations and under various governments, too many of these men, women, children, and their families were deeply harmed and continue to bear the scars and the consequences of this time. Their humanity was undermined. They were separated from their families and robbed of their potential, their comfort, their safety, and their dignity. When we first started to think about the stories of survivors, I thought that could have been me, I wouldn't have any power at all. But we do. I am a compassion builder, and I want to give myself to these stories and help others to see the light in a way where everyone is safe and far away from all of that. Let's begin. Breathe in and breathe out. Let's begin.
Here's some bobby pins, and in order to knit on them, you have to straighten them out, like this. Whoops. Because they could snap very easily, so you gotta be careful. Here's the other one. And I have some yarn here, so I'm gonna start casting maybe about 20 stitches. Like this. Here's 2. 3. 4.
Documentation have now been received and is in order. We are now prepared to receive the patient on Wednesday, May 11th. The child to be brought to the hospital by responsible relatives who are now prepared to receive a document for our records. Please follow the admitting office signs to the rear of the hospital.
I took your little velvet hand in mine, and down a hallway longer than the rest, I led you from your home and gave no sign. It was all for the best. Now, all your needs are filled, or so they say. Kind, unknown hands that change each day will guide you in your everlasting childhood play. The tower walls inside. You will not miss the varied, lovely sense of freedom, of fish-laden winds that blow from the sea, stained books rained on pavements. They say you will not know. You will not know how I remember eyes as blue as hyacinths on the market square, and listen still for your mourning dove cries on the silent night air, and search for something heavy I can hold sometimes to fill my empty arms again.
My sister had disappeared. I could not comprehend her absence or why my parents were so accepting of it.
Leo asked, "How long am I going to live here?" He was told, "Oh, you'll be living here forever."
This big window This big window I see in front of me. The clock keeps ticking, and I don't know ticking, 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 ticking. 5 miles of corridors linking 50 buildings, a mile of underground tunnels, a working farm, free labor. 4 tons vegetables, produce annually, 9,000 bags of potatoes, 10,000 dirty cabbages, 3,500 tomato plants, 4.5 million pounds of laundry, 20,000 pounds of clothing, 27,000 sheets, and 50,000 diapers.
Stand in a corner with their hands up like this, or be made to dig worms on your stomach with your hands behind your back, straight out, flat on your stomach with your nose into the floor. You couldn't turn your head this way or that way. Just stand in a corner with their hands up like this, or be made to dig worms on your stomach with your hands behind your back, straight out, flat on your stomach with your nose into the floor. You couldn't turn your head this way or that way. Just stand in a corner with their hands up like this, or be made to dig worms on your stomach.
To see.
You have no idea.
If walls could talk,
learned to knit on bobby pins when I was 9 years old. And we would straighten them out and use them as knitting needles. And things came out a lot smaller, you know. And I would make dog clothes without a pattern. And I didn't have a pattern to do it. And then when I was 12 years old, I learned how to sew and do crocheting. And then I was a lot older when I learned to do some beading work. Said to my father that I was being destructive when I would rip things, when actually what I was doing was I was trying to make things, you know. I just like working with my hands. And I've made a few things. And that's about all I have to say.
In the bare winter, the spotted turkey finds hope in the red berry.
There's this one teacher who used to like me for who I am.
Somebody listen to me.
Somebody cared for me.
My sister Gretchen was very depressed at being ill, withdrawn, just lying in bed, dying really. My mother asked if an older girl could help care for her. Helen Blue was 17 years old, First Nations from Manitoulin Island. Helen spent as much time as she could with Gretchen, and Gretchen totally rallied. Helen saved Gretchen's life.
I'm gonna make it.
I'm a strong woman, I am.
I have friends.
With all the things going on in the institution, we were not old enough to understand what friends mean. We just hung out together, and being in a large room of 30 men and doors were always locked all the time, and there was fighting going on all the time too. Then one day a man named Freddie Sanderson was transferred from his ward to our ward. I think with all the fighting going on, they brought Freddie to quiet things down, to make sure that everybody got along. It was great to have another Native person in the room. We hang out together a lot. He was my mentor who I look up to. He taught me about his Native culture, and he told me lots of Native stories of his people. Then in 1 year, living in the ward, Freddie told me that he was leaving and going to a foster farm. Then he was gone out of my life. As I'm older now, I look back to those days, and now I know that Freddie was my friend.
It was a sad day when Freddie Sanderson died.
Freddie flies like an eagle in the sky. Goodbye, Freddie. One day we will fly together.
His death led to an inquiry.
The bird flapped its wings. A single shifting of air can alter the wind.
Why? Why? Why?
In 1971, the inquiry recommended that the institutions be closed, but it took another 38 years for that to happen.
The bird flapped its wings. A single shifting of air can alter the wind. We hear you. We believe you. We see you. We honor you.
We remember and honor you who are buried in unmarked graves. Ethelyn Bridger, Hannah Bell, Charles Edward Love, Reuben Meadows, Henry Hartman, Mae Young, Pierre Doucet, Euphemia Stevenson, Earl Scott, Florence Wise, Philip Farrington, Percy Grant Loveday, John Blue, Grace Sweet, Titus Tebow, Mamie Marcellus, John Kennedy, Ruby Weaver, Susan Love, Moses Chenevaux, Charles White, Ernest Smith, Octave LeMay, Barbara Shingabiz, Harry James Swow, Marshall Berry, James Sleep, Martha Snow, Hannah Flower, Arthur Wise, Herschel Stein, Pascal Cohen, Lucy Mott McGregor, Ruby Rockwood, Clarence Cecil Love, Louis Savo, Mary Forrest. Down,
David was one of the last people to leave Southwestern. He was suspected to die several times, but he lived to be 74. He left the institution when he was 73.
David delighted on the ring on his finger and the ringing of all bells. When he was dying, his friends and family gathered round him, singing his favorite songs.
Johnny Cash!
Johnny Cash! He didn't speak with words, but he spoke through his eyes and his body. He was a wise man. He could be the grandfather of many of us.
When David was happy, he liked to throw things.
Woo!
I found 2 photos of my sister in her institutional file. The first one was taken just after she arrived at the institution, at the age of 20 months. A bewildered baby, barely walking. The second one was taken after she'd lived there for 10 years. I'm haunted by her defiance, by her absolute determination to survive. But I don't even know what she was resisting. It's so different from the other photograph I have of her that was taken after she left the institution, when she went to live in the community with a caregiver who truly loved her and became her second family. She looked so happy and contented in her pearls and beautiful flowered dress, so at ease with herself in the world, no longer under siege. They lived together for 29 years.
Helen, it's so quiet without you. Helen Blue, known by many as trouble.
You got your own apartment in the community with your beloved cats. You kept an eye on our house while we were away. And you always stopped to chat when you could.
You are the life of the party. It would not be long talking to you, and you would have us smiling.
We knew that the cat was on her mind because you told us straight up the good and the bad.
I first met you while visiting my dad. You walked by his room one day drinking a coffee. I said, "Helen, where's my coffee?" The next time in, I heard a voice behind me saying, "Hey, where's my coffee?" Got to be our little joke of the day. In fact, there were a couple times you disappeared and came back with a coffee for me.
Even in the most serious of times, you always found the positive.
I will miss you, Ellen, Blue.
We could hear you come down the hall, and we'd smile and say, "Here comes trouble."
You were always causing trouble, flirting with all the men and making everyone laugh.
You took him from my wife.
Really going to miss you.
Trouble!
Leo escaped many times. Heronia was not his home. Leo had a dream to be a homeowner. It was spring. He was 76. He was waiting for his compensation. His sister Jenny did not want him to wait any longer. Jenny helped Leo purchase a nice mobile home on the outskirts of Sault Ste. Marie. Leo is a homeowner, an artist, an uncle, and a good friend.
Gordon Ferguson published a book about his experiences in the institution and his life afterwards. He chose a good group of friends and people to support and people to provide support when he needed it. And he lived in his own home with his wife. He became an important advocate for people with disabilities, encouraging inclusion and choice. Gordon was brave to write his stories to help others. He encourages me to be optimistic and to educate others about living with a disability. Gordon wrote, "I can be a source of hope for someone," and he is.
Hey, it's Irene and Carrie. This is Makes Me Think. Makes me think. Today's topic is freedom. Freedom. Oh, freedom. Where do we start? Well, what makes you feel free? Off the top of my head? I'm not waiting for the TTC. I can just hop on my own bicycle and move through the city. On my bike is one of the freest feelings I have, I think. How about you, Irene? What makes you feel free? Well,
what makes me feel free is I can swim in my own pool whenever I want really good exercise. I love it. It's refreshing, it's cool water, it's lovely, and I love it.
Oh, take me there. You know, I think too, I feel freedom, or what feels free, is
like what?
Like getting ice cream at 2 o'clock in the morning.
What kind of ice cream?
I would go for like a nice vanilla with chocolate sauce or something.
Ooh.
Yeah.
In a cone or a cup?
A cup.
I guess freedom is about choices.
Having the right to choose, and
yeah. Sometimes I can't be free. Sometimes I wish I could free all the animals in the world, but obviously I can't do that right now. So if I'm free, I want all the animals to be free.
Oh gosh, I didn't see that coming. Free all the animals in the world.
Yeah.
Like from where?
From their cages, of course. At the Toronto Zoo.
Go free all the animals in the Toronto Zoo?
Of course, I would.
But aren't animals like technically considered safe if they're in cages?
They can be safe, but what life do they have in their cages? They should go to the natural habitat. I guess freedom is making your own choices, but there are consequences and limits to that. And having your ice cream with a friend at 2 in the morning?
My bicycle in Toronto. Freedom is you in your pool.
Yeah, at my natural habitat.
It just comes down to like that freedom of choice and who makes the choice.
Yeah.
Do you know what I think about freedom? What? Freedom is closing a door behind me and going my own way. Freedom is making my own choices. Rachel, what do you think about freedom?
Freedom is soaring through the sky. Freedom is dancing to my favorite music.
We are not alone when it comes to freedom. We need each other, a friendly hand to hold as we live out our lives.
our hearts and wings together, fly with other birds.